happening, champions? Today I got a very emotional subject. Ever felt like this? Or this? Or maybe some of this? How can you master your emotions and finally get a grip and get a sense of control over yourself? That's the big question today, and we're going to find the answer. So try to stay with me till the end and you'll get as much out of this as you possibly can. My goal is that by the end of this video, you know how to control your emotions. No more them running wild on you and taking over your life. And to start off really quickly, I just want to touch on what can happen if you do not master your emotions, if you just let them run your life and take over your mental being and just sort of run you to where they want to go. And the very best analogy that I can give you is that if you are to let your emotions control you and take you wherever they want to go, it would be the same as you turning into a leaf and blowing with the wind wherever the wind was blowing. But more importantly, you cannot be the best you. You cannot bring out the best in you if you're constantly flooded by different emotions and feelings, and if you're letting them take you away from what you need to do and who you want to be around and the experiences that you want to have in your life. Eventually, it can also lead to something like depression or anxiety or even panic attacks. Because the more you let your emotions take over and just run your life for you, the harder of a time you're gonna have getting back on it. Now, we're all different. Some of us are completely cut off from head down. Basically, we're stuck in our head and most of our thoughts are what overwhelm us and give us the emotions. Other people are in touch with their body and they feel their intuition. They know that some of the emotions they're feeling are guiding them towards where they're supposed to go. It can be good or bad, but at the end of the day, you do not want your emotions to take over your life. That's for sure. At the end of the day, bad things and good things are going to happen in our life regardless of what we do. There are going to be setbacks and there are going to be challenges. And believe it or not, that is not the problem, like we often make it out to be. We like to say that it's this person's fault that we feel like this, or it's because this bad thing happened to us and we just can't do anything about it. And if you put yourself in that spot, you have literally made yourself into a victim that can't do anything about the situation, which is the worst place you could possibly be in. And the thing is that it's only you who can put yourself into that position. Listen very closely. It is not what happens to you that determines the results in your life and how you feel. It's the interpretation that you have of what happens and the meaning that you give it. When I was younger and I didn't really know anything about self-management and self-mastery, anything bad, even remotely, even slightly went wrong, I would be crying, I would be upset, I would be all over the place. I would literally lose myself and my emotions would just take over completely. Now, I'm personally a very emotional being, so maybe this was normal. But at the end of the day, I almost felt helpless, like I couldn't do anything about it. Like it was just grabbing me by the neck and just pushing me over here and pulling me over there, and I just didn't have any say in the matter. But the biggest reason that that was happening was because the reason and the meaning that I gave everything was very depressing and sad, and it was largely due to social conditioning, and we're taught to interpret life in a certain way. Depending on your culture and where you're from, of course, it's gonna vary. But for most of us, we tend to assume that certain things are bad and certain things just aren't positive and you can't find anything good in the situation. When in all reality, all that life and the universe does is teach us lessons through different chapters and stages, and it's very, very important to recognize that. Life is not trying to punish you or make you feel bad through giving you the most horrible circumstances. A lot of these things come up as an opportunity to grow, and that really was the biggest shift that I made that I'm gonna share with you right now. Going from looking at things as, oh God, this happened to me, you know, someone passed away or there was an accident or something horrible happened, maybe you lost a family member and you just take it so to heart and it's painful. And of course, naturally, it is painful. But later on, the interpretations stack on top of each other and it's like, bad things just happened to me. And as you begin to identify with that, you get more and more bad experiences because you're attracting them. And as it continues on, your emotions grow worse and worse, and there's more and more negativity in your body. You don't know how to control it. And maybe you sporadically experience some good stuff. But to end this pattern once and for all, make the big major shift of the century. That is going from thinking, oh God, all of this bad stuff is happening to me, to thinking, wow, this experience may not look so positive from the outside, but I surely can find something from it that will fuel me or help me to keep moving forward and grow and experience life more fully. Those are two completely different spaces to be in. And that's where I want you to start. That's where I want you to begin, shifting from the first one to the second one. It will make the biggest difference. The moment that you stop blaming the circumstances and you actually say to yourself, you know what? I'm gonna see what I can learn from this. I'm gonna see how I can grow. I'm gonna use this to move forward instead of letting it get me down and feel like crap. Now you can apply all of the other amazing things that I'm about to share with you because you're coming from this place instead of victim. Now the first magic trick that I'll actually share is very, very simple. Pick a word that you like, a word that you really like, a word that has a lot of positive meaning and connotation for you. Now say it with the kind of positive emotion and connotation that you have with it. It could be very, very simple. Here's one that I use. Yes, yes, yes. Or here's another one. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. What did I just do there? Notice what happens with a person that is starting to experience bad emotions. Their physiology changes. Usually, if you're feeling some kind of sadness or depression, your shoulders sink down, your head goes down, you begin to look down, and as you do so, your body starts to increase the intensity of that emotion. If you want to switch, it is as simple as shifting your body, as changing the way that you use it. Another reason this is such a big deal is because most of the time we're trapped in our heads and there's thoughts running through our mind that are creating and causing even more pain. So to get away from that, use what I just shared with you. Simply engage your body, and I know you won't feel like it if you're feeling down or if you're feeling angry, you won't want to do something positive, but the moment that you do, the whole physiology changes and the whole brain chemistry changes, and before you know it, your mood begins to change and your feelings and your emotions begins to shift in the way that you want them to. Now here's another thing. Don't wonder why you're overwhelmed with really bad, horrible emotions if you're constantly consuming stuff that doesn't help you. I'm talking about that newspaper in the morning. I'm talking about those stupid YouTube videos that are gossiping and talking about random stuff that you really shouldn't be listening to. Or even the TV or the radio throughout the day. You know, a lot of people, they just can't stand being alone, so they just have the TV playing in the background. This stuff is sinking into your subconscious mind like no other and taking over everything that's going on in there. Before you know it, you're overwhelmed, feeling like crap. No wonder you've been listening to massacres all week. Avoid, if at all possible, any negative input. You know, even people around you that are constantly on a negative loop and a negative spiral, try to back off from that as much as you can. I'm not telling you to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. You know, sometimes you get caught. That's okay. I get caught. Everybody gets caught. But do your best, your very best, your best personal effort to stay away from negativity. I'm talking even about music that makes you feel bad, that just gives you that feeling of depression or anger or any emotion that you sort of want to stay away from. Just feed it less. It's that simple. The emotions that will most thrive in your body and getting control over your emotions will have to do with which ones you feed and which ones you don't. Because it's like a muscle. It gets stronger each time you use it. In fact, something really interesting about people is that the emotions that you use will usually be the same over the course of your life. You will strengthen certain emotions and you will experience them over and over again because the patterns in your brain, they begin to form over time and it becomes easier and easier to access a certain state or emotion. So when I was going through depression when I was younger, I can remember really this horrible feeling overwhelming me constantly, over and over again. It would be on a daily basis. It would be several times throughout the day and I would feel anxiety, and all these are linked to each other and they have these patterns, and it was horrible trying to get out of it because I had fed it so much, developed it so much. I was so used to the pattern that really it took some intense self-work to finally step out of that darkness. The same goes for anger and frustration. If you're always yelling at people and punching the wall and throwing things around, the more often you do it, the more you build strength in that emotion, the more you develop it, the more often you're naturally going to experience it. So to break that down and make it very simple for you, feed the emotions that you want more of. Don't feed the ones that you don't want. It's very simple, it's very basic, but it works wonders. As I began to listen to more positive content and filling my brain with positive messages and constantly being around people that were chasing their goals and their dreams and learning from people that were really passionate about what they did, the more I started developing those emotions and feeling those things. Watch a comedy instead of a horror movie. It could be that simple of a switch. Now, coming back to that thing about your body, again, what does it look like when somebody's being confident? What does it look like when somebody's feeling good about themselves? It's very different to the way that somebody looks when they're down and upset. When I earlier mentioned that you can use a word that has a positive connotation for you and act and feel it with your body, that's one way of doing it. But another way is simply taking on the body language of somebody that feels good. I mean, what does it look like when you are happy? When you're having a great time, when you're enjoying yourself? Usually your chest opens up, your shoulders maybe relax and lean back, and you tend to pick your head up and look people straight in the eyes, and you smile more, and naturally you begin to feel even better as this subconscious communication is going on between your body and your mind. Again, these are patterns that are formed and happening without your conscious being aware of it, and you're not even paying attention. You know, this is happening naturally all day long. But if you can take control and become aware, if you can really notice these patterns and come in and interrupt the bad ones and then reinforce the good ones by engaging in them yourself and saying, okay, well, I'm gonna do this right now, and just paying attention to it throughout the day, they will strengthen and you will start to get a grip and actually get real mastery over your emotional being and over your state. It really isn't mystical or that complex as we make it out to be. We think that emotions are these weird floaty magic dragons that we can't touch somehow. But they're not. They're in us, and we do already naturally have control over them. It's not something that you have to even try to get control of. It's only about becoming aware of the patterns, understanding what's going on inside you. Now, another thing I really want to point out to you in this video is that memory is actually state accessed. So when you're in a bad mood or you're feeling pretty nasty and horrible, then what you're gonna remember are all the bad things that happened to you in your life, and this can spiral out of control completely. So again, it begins with awareness and realizing that, okay, if you're in a bad mood, if you're not feeling so great, what you're remembering, what you're experiencing, your thoughts are bringing forward all of the stuff that has happened right up in your face. Really getting in there. The stuff that really isn't gonna help make the situation any better. Again, that's just the way we're wired. Those are the patterns. You don't have to accept them. You don't have to be okay with that. You can say to yourself, you know what? I choose to focus on the positive. And an amazing question that I use very regularly. What can I learn from this? What is this trying to teach me? It's so simple, but it's so powerful. And you can get a big lesson out of something going wrong instead of just getting a slap in the face by life. Another question that's really important to ask yourself is, what am I focusing on? So questionception going on here. The questions that you ask yourself are actually what determine what you focus on, and then you ask more questions which lead to you feeling in a certain way. Let me give you a really good example. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why me? Oh no, why did this have to happen to me? I did everything right, but this still happened to me. Why did this happen to me? Am I a horrible person? What did I do wrong? Did I do something evil and now God or the universe is punishing me just to make me see how bad of a person? Am I doing something wrong? Is my life a lie? Am I doing all this for nothing? Do you see how this is just one giant negative spiral and it just keeps going downhill and it never ends? Cut it out. Stop asking the questions that aren't leading you to the answers that you want. You're not gonna ask, what's wrong with me? Why am I such a horrible person? And then come out on the other end with, oh, you know what? Everything is great and you are amazing and you should feel really good about yourself, feel proud and confident and really just be happy. Not how this thing works. So if you catch yourself asking those questions in your mind, again, it's happening subconsciously, you're usually not even aware, it's just happening automatically. But if you jump in there and you say, hey, wait a second, and you start asking yourself some very different questions like, what can I learn from this? How can I be more happy about the situation? What can I do to cheer myself up? What are some of the things that I can be grateful for even when this negative stuff is going on, or even when I'm a little bit upset or angry or whatever's happening? if you stop and pause and reflect like that, even for a split second, your whole body will actually begin to relax and open up, and things begin to change. It really is that simple. So just watch that mental conversation that's going on all the time. Don't let it get out of control. Don't let it get out of whack and take you somewhere you don't want to go. Because you're literally most of the time making yourself feel worse than how bad the situation actually is. We over-exaggerate. It's natural. It's okay. But if you want to change how you feel, change the way that you perceive the whole entire thing about emotions, realize that you really are in control. I mean, it's your body, it's your mind. And although we've been taught that life just happens, this is not true. You are creating your experience each and every single day of your life. There's not one single day that goes by where you don't have a say, where you don't have a choice, where you don't get to choose how you interpret what's happening. You see people going through the worst things that could happen to a human being, you know, extreme abuse and violence, and somehow at the end they come out and they're at the top of their game, at the top of their industry, at the top of their career. They're crushing it at life. And it really is as simple as choosing and deciding how what's happened is going to affect you, how you're going to interpret it. These people that thrive and succeed, they choose to take it very differently than somebody who goes into a dark hole and never crawls back out of it. How can you take those bad experiences and really learn something from them and grow and improve? Don't be a slave to them. Don't let them control you. Use them. Use them as fuel. Use them as an advantage. Use them as an opportunity to learn. Learn about yourself. And as you do, you learn about other people. Why does that person handle their emotions so well? It's because their patterns that they have developed are usually more positive. And you could say, oh, well, they got lucky, they got a good upbringing, but poor old me, I grew up in the worst part of town and everything bad happened to me. Again, like I said in the very beginning, if you're a victim, if you stay in that spot, if you keep saying it's the world happening to me and it's evil, then you don't even stand a chance. So please, please, please switch over and decide that, you know what, whatever happens to me, I'm going to choose the interpretation. I'm going to decide how I'm going to feel. I'm going to be conscious and aware of the questions going through my mind. I'm going to, when I feel down or when I don't feel good, take on the body language and change the physical stance that I'm in, and thereby change my biochemistry and begin to feel good and feel the way that I want to feel rather than feel whatever comes up. Now you're in control of your emotions and you don't have to be a slave to whatever is going on. You can actually begin to form the patterns that you want. You can begin to decide how you want to feel, when you want to feel it, and you can begin to direct yourself and your emotions towards where you need to go, where you want to be in your life, and what you want to accomplish. Subscribe for more daily videos. Leave a comment down below if this has helped you. Tell me about some of the emotions that you're experiencing. What are you going through every day? You guys are the champions. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.